Welcome to Book World with Karen Rayborn. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Hello everyone, look at your life, look at your choices. Choosing to watch this video is the best choice that you've ever made. In case you're new here, kindly consider subscribing to this channel. And for the returning subscribers, thank you so much for always coming back and appreciating. It's been long, I've been missing for some time. It's funny how every time I come back and I repeat this, but this time I'm sure and I promise that I'm going to keep to the end. I'm going to keep posting videos and I'm not going to take a very long break. I'll try and do my best. And so I want to continue with the analysis of some books that I've been doing, the African stories. And today I'm getting into a very interesting book that I love so much that depicts the leadership that we have in our nations and all that. And I'm sure by reading some of these chapters, I'm sure you're going to get to relate with them. Each and every individual will have at least one character that you can be able to relate to. And so this book is called Fathers of Nations by Paul B. Vitta. This is Fathers of Nations. It's a book that is done in schools in Kenya. They're doing this book for the KNEC exams, and it's a very interesting one that I really love. And it's not so big, but it has a lot of content. It's so deep, it captures everything, and it's all round. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy the analysis. So kindly sit back, relax, and enjoy the analysis. The first thing that we have at the cover, we have the Fathers of Nation written in yellow. The next thing that we can see is Paul B. Vitta, the author of this book. Then there's the blue seal that is sealing something in, but there's an opening that can expose what is inside. We have a stamp over here, and with that stamp, it is written rejected. But what is in the paper or whatever has been stamped is written approved. And then we have a file with several papers inside, and it has a very purple ribbon. So that is the cover of this book. And then get to the blurb, we can see that there's the description that has been given here. The very best of the world's best has discovered a way to develop Africa. We Omega, now Africa's head of state, are at a summit to approve it as their common development strategy. If they do, it promises Africa will start developing immediately. Unknown to the summit are several aggrieved conspirators who are plotting to defeat Way Omega and replace it with rival strategy, Path Alpha. Their path, they say, is the only way to develop Africa. Should the summit still approve Way Omega, or should it turn around and approve Path Alpha instead? Fathers of Nations is a satire on contemporary African politics by Paul B. Vitta. So I'll be tackling each and every chapter, and today I want to start by talking about chapter 1. And in chapter 1, this is the opening of the book. It begins on a very high note. The first thing that we see, there's arrival of guests at Seamount Hotel. This is a hotel in Gambia where these 4 strangers are lounging at. So these strangers are supposed to meet for the same mission. They're strangers, they are unknown to each other. They don't know each other, but they're meeting for this same agenda without their knowledge. The only uniting factor is their guide and Mr. Tad Longway, the person that was recruiting them or getting them into the picture. So we have the guide, the person that has been leading them throughout. We have these people launching at a specific place. The first thing that we have is Professor Kimani Karanja. Professor Karanja is from Kenya. This was a lecturer at University of Nairobi. The next one we have Comrade Melusi. Comrade Melusi is from Zimbabwe. Then we also have Pastor Chineke Chiamaka from Nigeria, who was the owner of a church called Church Inside Africa in Nigeria. Then the next one we have Engineer Saif Tahir, formerly employed by the Ministry of Defense in Tripoli, Libya, and was taught how to make guns. So these are the 4 strangers that we have in picture that are lounging at Seamount Hotel. This guest, after getting into these hotels, they're assigned different rooms in different wings, different floors and different wings. And after the assigning of these rooms, we now see the guide now comes in. This person that we are being directed, or rather the strangers have been directed to call him the guide. This person now gives them a call, each and every one. The first call goes to Professor Kimani. And to Professor Kimani, after receiving this call, this man tells him that you need to know that I'm your guide. You know me as a guide. That is all for now. Any other information, maybe we can preserve it for later. So right now, the only way you can call me is your guide. And then after making that call, this guide goes ahead to tell Professor Kimani that there is a suitcase that has been delivered to you. Professor Kimani confirms that that is true. He received a suitcase, and after receiving this suitcase, this man also goes ahead to ask. The guide goes ahead to ask Professor Kimani if whatever the content, or rather, to if they can see the content of that briefcase. And in that briefcase, there were so many things that were inside that they're going to use in the journey, or rather in the summit that is being planned. And as a result of that, this individual tries to open this suitcase, this briefcase, to no avail. It doesn't open. So because it didn't open, they all of them complain that it can't open, and they want to receive help from this man called the guide. The same happens to Pastor Chineke Chamaka. The same happens to Golibe Melusi, that is comrade. The same happens to Engineer Seif Tair. So they all have the same occurrences with opening, or experiences with opening that briefcase. And then the next thing that we can see now, the guide now hangs up on them without introducing himself or revealing himself to anyone. So we put that at that stop, and then we move to the next one. The next story, or the conflict that now begins here, we have Fiona Mackenzie. Fiona Mackenzie is a journalist who meets Dr. Afolabi, and meeting Dr. Afolabi, he interviews him about his book, Failure of State. Fiona Mackenzie goes ahead to explain to Dr. Afolabi and asks a lot of questions about this book, and says that how can you be writing about failure of a state? It means that you are pessimistic in your book. And then here you're standing and talking about heading a summit, advising people on way Omega, a way in which Africa can be developed. How is that possible? So that is what Fiona Mackenzie asked Dr. Afolabi. But Afolabi is not happy with those questions, and goes ahead to tell Fiona that these questions that the questions that are asking me, it means that you've not read my book. If you did, you could not have judged it by its cover. To show contempt to this Fiona Mackenzie, to this journalist, Dr. Afolabi tells this journalist that I cannot stand a chance to explain or give any explanation to a third-rate journalist. That is the concept of the highest order. So that is what we see. And then that conversation ends at that point. And now we get to see there's a call that is received. And after receiving this call, Fiona Mackenzie has to leave. These 49 foreign heads of state are supposed to be hosted in Banjul for the summit, that is in Gambia. So before they are hosted, there are some preparations that are needed to be done for them to be hosted. Remember, there are 49 heads of states. So with 49 heads of state, there's a cost of hosting. You have to pay the price for you to host these people. Number one thing that they needed to do, they needed to dispatch bulldozers to demolish roadside kiosks, to create sidewalks for the dignitaries. The dignitaries coming to this place, they're not going to come and walk around anywhere anyhow. They need to have a pathway that they can use to pass. So the bulldozers are sent to demolish all these kiosks and prepare a way for them. That is the cost of hosting these 49 heads of states. Number one, that we can see, the next thing that we can see here, there's also the checkpoints. They had to wait for longer for the exercises to continue. We are hosting heads of state. You imagine a president is going somewhere. There need to be some space that is given for them to go fast. Or rather, if you're in African countries, you'll be able to relate. When the president is going somewhere, they're passing the roads with their vehicles. It means that you, as an individual, you need to stop your car and wait for them to pass, because they will be coming with their sirens and shouting and making noise along the roads, and with a very high speed. So it means that you need to give them room. So the same way, for them to pass somewhere, they need to be preparations, people will have to wait longer at the checkpoints for these heads of states to pass. If because you made a simple mistake, maybe your car lacked something specific, they will have to ask you for some money, or rather they can just decide, I don't know how they do it. But then when you're in African country, you will be able again to understand what I'm talking about. What happens in this book according to Paul B. Vitta? The next thing that we see, they need to mesmerize visitors by building new water fountains. A visitor or someone who is the head of a state cannot come to your nation or cannot come to your country and then you just put everything and continue with their life normally. Things have to change. The environment needs to look smart, sweet, and appealing. They look at it and they're like, wow. And the heads of state, these are people, these are dignitaries, these are people that are respected. When they walk around, there should be fresh smell, the sweet smelling aroma everywhere. The cleanliness, that is the cost of hosting these people, should be the top notch. Everything must be done on the first level. Everything must be done well. Another thing that is under this cost of hosting, there's the issue of safety of the guests. The guests are supposed to be safe wherever they're going to be living. Remember, you're hosting heads of states. Probably these are presidents. You're hosting them. And then you want them to sleep from anywhere. You want them to launch anywhere. It's not possible. So you have to ensure that security is tight. There is safety for these guests. And what you need to do, you need to have them at one place. So the first thing that these people ensure that they did in this chapter, they ensure that they had this heads of state at one point. This was at Pinnacle Hotel. At Pinnacle Hotel, that is where at least they could be able to create some perimeter fence or put a barricade so that nothing can come inside that hotel. That where these heads of state are going to launch, where they're going to be staying, it should be a place where there is security. Everything is done with a lot of sensitivity. Then the next thing that we can see, apart from setting these perimeter walls or building them the fence, 1,000 armed soldiers are supposed to be around that fence. It should be fenced and they should be around. Armed commandos inside the fence, like everywhere. People with the guns waiting, looking around. If you've seen where these big people or the presidents or the fathers of nation coming, you'll realize that that is what is done most of the time. That is what they do. And then there's also the reception and hosting. Rooms are now allocated to these people at the Pinnacle Hotel. We have agreed that the place that they're going to launch is at the Pinnacle Hotel. And that is where they're going to also have all these meetings during that period that they're going to be there. So with that, the reception and hosting, number one, the letter of the name of the country you're coming from as the head of that country is, it begins with A. You're going to be given the first room and all that. So they planned it in an alphabetical order. The letters were alphabetical. After that arrangement, now let's wait and see what happens in chapter 2. It was a beautiful time having you here. Thank you so much for coming back. And if you've watched to this part, kindly leave a comment, leave a like, tell me what you've learned from this video, tell me what I need to improve on, and tell me what I've done well in. So ensure that you leave a comment down below. And thank you. Let's meet again to our next chapter, chapter 2. Thank you.